Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update for uranium. If you're noticing the new background, I am on vacation. I'm in Minnesota. So I'm up there in very cold weather. It's really cold up here, and good thing we have things like nuclear power plants to provide energy, electricity, and natural gas for heat, because it is cold. So what I have now, I'll jump in here. This again, just my financial opinion. Please don't use it as advice. But here we are, and I've got hammer time. And what we've got here is a hammer pattern. That's good because usually what happens is you kind of come up, it hits some resistance, which we are. This is resistance line of the pattern. It pops on down, and we had buyers buying it back up at the bottom here. So buyers are buying it back up. The momentum, it was coming down and it reversed throughout the day and came back and closed here. Even though it was a down day, the momentum is coming back up. So hopefully this hammer pattern can give some hammer time, and we can get a good move off, dig off the bottom here to move on up. So we'll see what happens tomorrow, but this is a hammer pattern, which is a reversal candlestick to move higher. URNM, not so lucky. It's a little bit, I'd say this is not a hammer pattern, a little bit more sell-off here. And we're coming back, and hopefully we can get some support here, and it can hold for tomorrow. It maybe wants to test the projected move on the breakout of about 70 bucks. Looking at Bannerman, Bannerman's getting a little bit of a sell-off, but again, we broke the downtrend. We've been moving sideways. I think it looks fine. Just need the buyers to step in here, show what's up. And Goviax is very similar. We came to a point, we popped higher, we came into some selling pressure here. That's why the wicks are at the top of these candles. And this one I put hammer time here, but it didn't close strong. So I got to delete the hammer time. No hammer time party here, guys. And we came down kind of strong. Doesn't mean it can't turn around. Doesn't mean we can't get a hammer pattern tomorrow. But again, we ran into some sellers up here. But everything looks okay. It's not blowing. Nothing's blown yet. It still looks fine. Global Atomic, is it hammer time pattern? Jeez. Downtrend line, break to the upside. We came on back. We're putting in a hammer pattern. Hopefully we can get some momentum to the upside here. May the forces be hitting you in the nuts. What the 11% down. We consolidated. We popped higher here. I thought, man, this thing was cruising higher. Just got hit today. Hit to the downside. Still doesn't look horrible though. It still looks fine. It's recoverable. Pure Point Uranium. This one had a hammer pattern, but it finished weak. Is the support down here going to hold? That's what we want to see. We broke the downtrend line here. It's on log. Back out just a little bit and see what this thing's doing. We could come down here. But in my opinion, on the big long-term perspective, guys, downtrend break. Now we're trying to break through this sticky resistance area. We're getting some sellers up there, and we could come back anywhere in here. This is a low-risk area to be buying, in my opinion, in this area. Deep yellow. Getting a little bit of a sell-off. We came down, popped higher. We're probably going to chop sideways for a little bit before moving up. Paladin Energy. Going on the big, I like looking at this big long-term picture. We're trying to break out here. We're getting a little bit of resistance, and we're just kind of hitting this resistance line up top here. It's going to move sideways until it doesn't, and then it's going to blow to the upside. So that's what I think about Paladin. Sky Harbor. Sky Harbor's got the same thing. We got this big old resistance line up here. We came up, ran into a wall of sellers. That's why all these big wicks are at the top on the monthly candlesticks. Selling. Like, okay, we're going to come back, rest a little bit, and then try breaking again. It's a big pattern, a 1, 2, 3. And, sometimes they come back a little bit. It's really hard to say, but what exactly it's going to do. And I think it's already kind of came back, and it's resting down here. And I'm looking for a low, a higher low, and then maybe this will be the higher low that breaks up past this resistance area. Next Gen Energy. Next Gen's got the big old pattern here, the 1, the 2, the 3, and it broke. And we've been cruising quite well. This is a hammer pattern on a monthly candlestick basis. Zooming in, we squeezed up in this ascending wedge, broke to the downside, and we're starting to find our footing down here. We're getting some support from all this other buying and selling. So, I think down here's not a bad spot if you guys want to buy into some strength here. Strength being it's downward, sideways, and then buy into strength is usually what I do. Here's Canalaska getting a little bit of a sell-off today, but I think it's just going to chop sideways. It's just volatile. Speaking of volatility, base load, what happened? And what you want to look here in some of these, like it's almost like, do we have like a bigger pattern that we're kind of forcing down here? Is it something like this or something? You can always kind of look and see what this thing's doing. Is it kind of a wedge that we're wedging up in, that we're just coming down and wedging up before a break either lower or higher? Difficult to say, but I'll leave that there. Quite a bit of selling pressure today for base load. Vision 3.0. Just chopping sideways is what we're doing. Yeah, it's volatile. These little guys are really volatile, but I will say this. Big downtrend line is broken. It wants to naturally gravitate for a return move before going to the moon, before launching to the moon. So don't be surprised if we come back and we break 15 cents and come down a little bit lower. I mean, we are basing out here. It looks good, but don't be surprised if something happens and pushes us down here to another support level. Do I think it's going to happen? Not necessarily. I'm just saying don't be surprised if something, if some fear came into the market or something, some one-off fear. So I'm not calling for it, but it's possible. Now, Fission has this kind of like wedge type pattern that developed here. And sometimes these guys break to the downside. Sometimes they don't. And to me, like looking at this weekly candlestick, see how we have a bearish engulfing here? I mean, it's possible that this breaks to the downside and we see a larger downward movement. It's possible. So we got to monitor and see what's going on. Now, am I selling my shares? No, not selling anything. I'm just holding on. But it's possible if we could come back down here. Or we could hold and move on up. I mean, we're right at that decision point, and the market's got to tell us where we're going to go. Camco's looking fine. It doesn't look bad at all. We broke this big pattern. You guys should have been super excited to be buying in here. We broke to the upside. We've been just tracking up. Could zoom in here, but we could be. Let me zoom in again on the dailies. I mean, it's broken out of this little fan pattern, but it looks okay. I'd like to see more of a basing before anything. Yep. Kazatomprom, again, I think we're going to move sideways for a little bit before moving up. There's some momentum down here. It's got to work that momentum off. Get that. When I mean momentum, I mean sellers. And what you kind of want to see is like you got this pattern here. Like you're coming down and then you kind of want to squeeze it up, come down and then a break. And then right here should have been buy time, buy a lot, and just ride it higher. And then I'm looking for like a low, and then we're going to put like a low somewhere in this range here probably, or where it's at. And then we'll just step higher. So hopefully that's how it plays out. Peninsula Energy. Let's go to the daily here, zoom in. So we're still in a downtrend with Peninsula Energy. But what I can tell you and what I look for is we have wicks at the bottom here. We've got wicks here. We've got wicks here. We have a wick here. We got all these wicks at the bottom. There's good, strong support right there. So I mean, if it were me, I'd put in a buy order at like, if you like Peninsula Energy, at like 14 cents flat or something like that. See if it can fill. And we're squeezing up. And hopefully we don't squeeze and break to the downside. So that's what cost averaging is so valuable. But the momentum is to the downside, just to let you know. Momentum's downward at the moment. Got a little hammer pattern there, hammer time. This is boss energy. Again, we came down. We got wicks in the bottom here on the weekly candlesticks. We have a wick at the bottom here. This thing looks pretty good. We have a nice, good bullish engulfing pattern. Came up, came down, and then maybe this can get some momentum to the upside. There's a lot of support all through this region down here. See how, oops, I didn't click the button. All this support in here. So when it comes back, it's going to have a bunch of support underneath it. So it looks really good. Here's Lotus Resources, again, coming on down. We're bouncing sideways, trying to get some support, something to launch from. UROY. So looking at UROY, okay, we're not really looking at UROY. We're looking at this ROY. We're moving sideways. I think that's where we're at. We just got to knock out these sellers. We gotta ditch them. It's going to take some time. Encore Energy, we've got hammer time pattern. Hammer time. Hammer what? Hammer time. That's exactly. And what we're looking for here, guys, is, I'm just going to start doing some drawing, is we've got a low, a higher low. Higher low. Are we going to hold? We want to hold. And if we fall back, it's okay. It's not going to end the world. But we've got buyers here. Look at all these wicks on the bottom, right? See that? Buyers are down there. So, you know what? I mean, sprinkle, you know, a little bit if you guys like this company down here at the $1.25, 26 range or whatever, if that's what you want to do. I mean, we do have some momentum. It could break to the downside. It's still a possibility, but there's buyers down there. I can see it. This one is quadruple U's, and U's coming down, and we be coming up, and we be coming back down a little bit. But what I see is bigger buying pressure, smaller selling pressure. I think it will resolve upward eventually. The buyers are starting to gain control. Doesn't mean we just head straight higher. We might knock out some sideways motion before. This one's got a little bit more selling pressure here, bearish engulfing. Hopefully we can hold down here at the $1.20 range, just underneath it. Looking at UEC. No. I'm on the wrong thing here. I can draw this guy, pull it across just to get in there. It's still in this pattern, guys. Everything looks okay. That's what the pattern looks like, so we'll see what happens. This could break to the downside. I mean, it's a possibility. We have wicks at the top. Whenever you start seeing wicks at the top, it's a possibility that this thing could head lower on UEC. Now, LEU, let's zoom in here a little bit more than this. So what I'm looking at is when I'm looking at this, you see these big down days here. We've got quite a bit of them, and sometimes that means that this may head lower. And what I'm looking at is a potential shoulder with a neckline right here, and this could do another drop like that. It could. So, because you see this big sell-off pressure day there, and there, and we have smaller up days. So this could have some downside risk, guys, just by looking at it. LTBR, it's looking okay. It's got a little hammer time pattern here, wicks at the bottom. I think this is looking a little bit better. We broke the downtrend. We came back and did a retest, and let's see if we can go. Looking at ISO Energy. Let me back out here. Consolidation period, broken to the upside. We're coming down. Why I'm looking at this for a while, I'm just seeing these big sell-off days, but we also have some big buying pressure underneath it. This is just a battle in here. It's battling back and forth. And usually when you get like the wedge patterns, or if they go backwards, you get like a megaphone, it's undecided and it's just absolute massive volatility. We don't have that, I'm just saying in general. But it looks okay. It's battling back and forth. Appy Energy, a little bit of a hammer time pattern today. Hopefully we can get some momentum to the upside. DNN, bearish engulfing. We got some big selling pressure days here, not the big buying pressure. It is concerning that we could head a little bit lower, but I mean, this is a battle here. It is a battle. It's tough. It's really tough to read. But I don't like seeing a large ascending wedge pattern right before it, which means it could pop down a little bit more and need a little bit more time. But I would say sideways. Let's see some sideways motion. Blue sky's got that sideways motion. It's basically a broadening structure, kind of where you've got like this kind of motion there where it's just all over the place. Doesn't know what to do. Form energy metals. I don't like seeing the selling pressure over here, guys. I don't like it. See this? This is a bearish engulfing there. A little bit of selling pressure today. Let's see if we can hold. If we break down, I mean, it's a possibility. But these smaller companies, they can throw false signals because they're so thinly traded that sometimes they throw false signals. Same with like Anfield. But what I like about Anfield is you've got it's a change here. So like you've got a low, a lower low, a lower low, a lower low, a lower low, and then if this can hold here, it means you have a higher low. And then we can break the downtrend and create a higher high. That's a new uptrend. But it's not there yet. But I think if you're going to speculate on it, it'd be somewhere in this range where we are today at 8 cents, 8.5 cents. That would be the spot I would be looking at. Laramide still has some selling pressure in this thing. I see still some big selling pressure, but it looks like we're trying to find some support. We've got support going across here. So is that going to hold? I mean, it's right at support. Let's see it go sideways and then eventually higher. Let's see if we can work these sellers off. We've got Western Uranium. I mean, this doesn't look great to me. We got a lot of selling pressure. We're fighting our way back up, but it's in an ascending wedge, which could potentially still lead to a little bit more downside. And UEXCF is very similar to that. We've got downside pressure. We do have some support underneath it. And we sold off today. Let's see if the support can hold. But usually you enter from the top side down, it consolidates, and then you blow out to the downside and have a little bit more left in it to the downside. But also keep in mind, guys, we've got the 10-year moving up. We've got oil firming up as well, and I think these track pretty well with the 10-year. So if the 10-year yields continues to go up, I mean, we had to go up today, and it was down day for uranium. So it's a mixed bag here, because I think oil is going to follow uranium, or is going to follow the 10-year higher, and usually these guys move in tandem. So it's a difficult spot to know where this is exactly going to go. I think if the Sprott Uranium Trust can get some traction here to move up, we've got the hammer pattern. If we can move that up, I think the whole sector will move up with it. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's how I see things at the moment. And hopefully this helps you out in your investing. Give me a thumbs up for the content. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.